So class 9, we're going to talk about some workflow things, a little bit about getting shots in from a portable drive, getting them across and maybe not copying everything. A lot of times I maybe get a short film to grade and I get the whole project on a drive, not the selected shots. They go, well, here's what we shot over 5 days, and there's a 10-minute short film in there somewhere. So if we look for our media here, and I'm looking for my drive, which is here, was Thunder. Now, in here, I'm going to find some media. I'm going to scroll down. This is like the client's drive. Think of the client's drive, restaurant. They have some media, so I'll copy that down off their drive. Yeah, like that. I've only got a few clips, obviously, but to simulate it, I'm going to conform it. XML, still off their drive. There, restaurant, there. There's an XML in there somewhere, matching. Okay, back up a little bit. Do this. It wasn't very good anyway. Just remove all this. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so what I need to do is find on the remote drive, which is a USB drive that's plugged in there, not the fast storage. So the clients have bought this, I plugged it in, they said everything's on there. Go to it, so we'll scroll down, there it is. In there, I have some media called restaurant. Take a look at it. Oh, there's loads of media. Say, what shots? They say, oh, we don't know what shots we used. Okay, fine. Go out to edit. Let's see where the XML can find them. XML. Scroll across. It is in restaurant. XML's there. Open. Automatically set project setting, yes. Bring in the media, yes, because we have no idea what we've used. They don't know what they've used. Okay, yes. 10 out of clips were not found. Okay, so we do know roughly where they are. They're on this drive, they're in there, and they're in a folder called restaurant. So hopefully it will find them out of there. Yes, great. So you conformed the show off the client's drive. There you go, that's fine, that's great. Problem is, because you're working off that drive, you have no performance and it's running at 7 frames a second. And really, you're working off a domestic drive. It's not ideal, you could have problems, it could be very slow. What do? You need to be able to export this out. So what we do, we will export this project. Let's save it first. I'm going to export the project to the desktop. Export, and I'm going to put it on a desktop. It's called Class 9 201 Workflow, and it will save it as a DRP file. And it will say, do you want to keep stills? No. LUTs? No. It's going to be workflow.drp. Okay. Operation done. I then want to open up a piece of software called Resolve Collect. Here, bit of third-party software. So I'll open that up, and it says it wants a destination. So I'm going to go to our fast storage here, X-RAID, fxphd, make a new folder in there, call it Warren, new, create, there, and load the DaVinci Resolve project, which I put on my desktop. There it is, Class 9 DRP, DaVinci Resolve project, open that. finds those shots. Copy files. Okay, media pool. You need 700 megabyte free on your drive. Yes, yes, it's all looking good. Symbolic link, know what that does. So let's just select them all. Can we select them all? Media pool, drama, there we go. Sorry, select that. Selects it. So I just had the whole media pool selected and now I want to copy that. So it's just going to copy the bits that were used. And let's see whether we've got any preferences in terms of timeline. Include audio, you can check that. Copy to separate directories if you wish. Timeline. Handles, really cool. So I can copy out with handles. 10 frame handles is becoming a bit more of a standard than 24 and 25, which is good to see. Basically 25 could be a bit of a re-edit, couldn't it? But 10 frames is more of a bit of a slip. That means in copying, though we can form just the cut, I do have more because the kids have obviously given me everything they've shot. And so I can choose to take handles when I copy to my fast storage. And that's in there, that's really useful. So now what we do, when we come back out here and we refresh this, we see that here is Warren New. And inside restaurant, I have those clips that we need. All right. That means I can now work on my full storage. I can replace the one I've got, and I've got handles if I need to make any changes. Really nice. Good bit of software. It's called Resolve Collect. You can buy it, I think, in iTunes. Now, you think, well, if DaVinci do something similar, they do this. Let's just back out of here while I'm here. Or I can make a new project. We can make another one. Let me conform another show. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to make a new timeline in there called Red. And again, from a portable drive, I drag in drama. And the thing we looked at earlier, I've got these big R3D files. I think they're about 10 minutes long because they're really big takes. I'm thinking, oh, it's going to take forever to copy them. Heaps of media. They're on a portable. They're 5K epics, 4K epics, running off a USB drive. Same story. Need to conform it. Import XML. Go back to drama. This again off the client's drive. Assets. Kelly 2. Open. I've got the media. Got the source clips. It's going to say what folder. Again, it's the red one. Cool. We don't worry about the audio. Not worried about that. I then want to export just these. Remember, I've just only conformed like 40-second commercial out of, could be, 200, 300 gig worth of red files. Select them all, Appelé, right click, trim clips. It says, where do you want to put them to? I want to go obviously up to my fast storage, make a new folder in, actually, let's do that. Let's make sure we go into the right, in there. So I can put these in PhD new. Okay. And it's trimming red files. So it's taking a 5-minute red file and just giving me 20 seconds of it. So it's doing a similar thing. I've not found a way though where we can add handles here. It's called trim clips, but as far as I found, it only works with trimming red files. So good, really good, just completely clones the clip. So it's really nice. So that will take, not very long to go through and trim those. And then all you do is relink like we did before, or you just reconform and you just reconform with the clips that you've got. It saves you copying all of their shoot, because otherwise you may have to copy the 5 days of the shoot, unless they can say, and even if they can like that, tell you these are the only 4 clips we used, if they're 5 or 10 minutes long, those clips, that's going to take a while. And in this digital age where people do like to keep the camera running, there's nothing you can do. So let's have a look. There's a couple of other things that I want to talk about, and I think we're going to go to our restaurant, actually. It's one of them. When I was talking about grading and keeping a still, I said keep a still, I want to use that. There's a way you can do that. You can go into your gallery, open that up, and if I open the big gallery here, I want to go and find the mist grade that I did on her before. To do that, I open up my database here in Warren, and this is just opening up the database. It's all my projects that I've been working on. And if I open up problems, which is where we did that, I can see I have that grade that I saved called mist. And I'm going to drag it down and put it in here. Then I'm going to close that down. Now that appears in this new project. All right? Now it's not just a still. There's the still. If I go, oh yeah, I like that, I can hit middle click and it has the grade as well. So when you save stills, not only is it saving the JPEG or the DPX as a still that you can email somewhere, it's also saving the history. So I could export that and email it to you or Jim or anybody. Email it to the director. So here's what I'm thinking. They can email one to me. Either way. The reason I wanted to do that is another way we can do this, quite a different way. So what I'll do here is I will just quickly add another version of this. So that's that version, colour, add a new version and delete these guys. Double click there, you can see it's a version. Take off that grade like that. I was looking at the still, that'll catch you out as well. You're looking at a still, you're grading, nothing's happening. You're probably looking at the still. Go into the curve, make a new serial like that. Make a layer, Option L, and just do this, really crank. And I've actually disabled, so I'm only working on the luminance channel. I'll do this pretty quickly. Just expand that up so you can see. And do this for you like that. We do this first, then do this. I just want to try and get as much luminance there, like that, yeah. Moving that to the left, I'm really going to open up those whites there. Hide that. In that node, I want to use my blur tool. I could use the mist as well, but we use the blur. Then I want to combine them using the composite modes. Now I could combine these two nodes any way I want. Go into composite mode, and the one I've been using quite a lot of soft light. Use that. Little bit of a dreamy sequence, quite radical, but it's got a really nice little look for it. And that's just combining a really, really soft node, blurred there, and it's just happening through this highlight. Good. Another way you can use the layer mixer, but not just do it as an overwrite, use it with any of these ways. There's another way. Say we wanted to put some fog in or some grain or something through her. We could do this. Find some first, make a new bin, call it scratch, like that. Come up here to my storage, scratch. Number of grain, scratches and things, so we just want grain. I can bring that into here, like that, scratch. Make a new video layer, add a track. Won't do it on that one, we'll do it on this one there. And now we can see that if we go to our media pool, because I put it in a separate bin, I can just put it onto V2, open up the inspector and use this as a similar way. Probably do this just as a screen like that, and then I have control of how much of that I want to come through there. Maybe do it as an overlay, a little bit subtler. And that's real grain in there, so it's not something that's been created. And that's just doing that as a V2. Pretty cool. You can do that through the whole timeline. Or if you want individual control, obviously it's easier for you to do it that way. So if you needed like fogging or something like that, you drag that in. And you'd basically rebuild it like you would in any other software, and you need to select what part of the fogging you want. So if you wanted this, that really little bit of orange there, select that. And mark it in there, and then we could drag that down onto there. Tidy that, just place that. And you'd be doing the same thing in there. Using that as, again, a screen or an overlay, like that. And then you're adding some fogging coming through it. You want to slip it to get just the really cool bit that you want. Slip that fog through, like that. Obviously, it's based on really picking a really nice bit that you can use. So anything you can use. Anything you can do as a composite node, like that. So there's also another way of adding grain. If you don't want to add it on the individual clip way, and you just want to add it through everything, let's just remove that guy there, get rid of that. Get rid of anything on V2. We're now going to do it this way. I'm going to find we'll use the scratches. It's very over the top, so it's going to be easy to see. Right click and add it as a matte. In there's a matte logo. Come to the color tab and we will close this down. How many times will I do that? It's that icon there. And what we need to do is go into track mode. So imagine everything's all graded. We then will add a new node here. And off that, we want to create a matte layer first. Add a layer. Oh, there we go. Right click off the layer, add matte. There's the scratches, which is fine. But I want to fill it with the color of the scratches. So join the circle to the circle. Like that. Then the scratches will come through. And these will just loop. So I can go right to the top and it will just run like that. I can grade this because it's a node. So I could blur the scratches off. I could come in here to my curve. I can do this. That. Completely invert that there in illuminate, so then I'm getting a black scratch come through. And it will just loop. So it doesn't have, it could be grain, and it'll just loop through the whole thing. So if you want a quick and easy to put grain or scratch to go through everything, and you don't need to do it on a shot-by-shot basis, that's a good way to go. So we've done a grade, we've put some effects on, we've done some versions, we have to get it out the door. Go to Deliver page. You now have three options in here. I would say just go to the advanced. Individual source clips means individual clips will be rendered and then they could be taken back to your editor of choice or a smoke or a flame and be conformed. Then you will get a new color grade, but keep the time code. Keep all the information so it could be conformed. If you are in single clip though, and you've finished in Resolve and everything's done, the sound's there, you choose the resolution you want to go at, 1920 1080, the codec you want to go out at, And there's heaps of them in there. And obviously you can select more here as well, depending on which one you want to use. DPX, very widely used. Over 50% of people are probably going ProRes 422 HQ. Auto video data levels. A lot of people ask me about this, and to be honest, you are much better leaving this in auto. In the amount of time I've used Resolve, the amount of time I've had to change this. We had a drama once where I was rendering something out and it was going into a smoke, I think, and they were seeing it not as, because if you leave it in auto data images, you get full range 0, 10, 23. If you render it at TV, it will be in at 64 to 960 on your video scale. The picture shouldn't change, but it just scales it slightly different. And if the box you're sending it to misinterprets it wrongly, the pictures will look wrong. They had a mix-up. It was a mix-up there, and it ended up was okay here. So normally I wouldn't go and changing that. Don't change that on the output. Leave that to the auto, and that will auto-detect depending on what you are sending out here. As a rule, though, normally DPX could go out full range. Everything else is normally rendered in video range. It's okay, but you don't need to change that down to video. You leave that in auto, it will be fine. Anything else that you change? You've obviously got to say, would you want audio, you want source file names, but if you are going back to a different box, then tick this preset. XML will tick over the boxes for you. AAF will do the same, making sure you're rendering to Avid-friendly codecs. Exporting audio. Then all you really need to do is a new thing in here to consider, and in that you can do this. I'm not sure if we can see it there, so I'm just going to take this Avid round trip. Render at source resolution. So if you did bring that timeline I made earlier, I think in class 5, where I had mixed resolutions, mixed frame rates, what will happen, it will render all those keeping the 4K size or the HD size. It won't try and upscale or downscale to HD. So great if you've got VFX shots in there and people want to keep that size resolution. Well worth experimenting and having a look at that. So that's basically what we're doing in delivering and getting things out. The reason this has changed is a lot of people were just doing very, very simple things in here. And that's what they liked. Liked it to be simple. This was a bit overcomplicated, but still pretty simple. And you can set up, once you've got this set, what you can do is find out where we need to render to. So we set everything down, get it all correct, make sure it's good. We want to do the round trip, yes. QuickTime, ProRes 222, render at source resolution. Do that, auto, export is good. That's all good. Browse, find somewhere to put it. So let's put it in render. Right click on render, new folder. I'll call that scratch, say. There. Okay, and I'll select everything, which is this, and add job to render queue. And then I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to do timeline, none, single clip. Let's do H.264, automatic data rate. You can obviously go in there if you want to. I'm not sure what all these are do. You could probably make that a lot smaller by turning that down. Restrict it. Well, leave that to auto. I'm not sure how best that's going to do, but compression quality. So you can go medium if it's just for a QuickTime thing or an emailable thing. Quick view. Come down. Good, 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 good. Leave that the same. Again. Now, I don't need to use source file name because really there isn't one. So I'll make it one and I'll call it work in progress, whip, dinner. Like that. single clip, check that's all good. Always do a quick check before I render to make sure it's all good. So that should be going into the same folder, but it's going to have a title called this. Again, select everything, add job to render queue. You can then just select them both and start render. And it will render both at the same time. Go into different, so one's doing clips, got to go off somewhere else. One's doing the whole thing because you want to email it. So typically you might do that in dailies where you need to send DPX nicely graded off to the VFX house, but you need to send a low res Avid 36 or something out to the editors, and then you need a timeline in H.264 so you can upload to the producers. So flexible things like that are really good, where you can just be flexible, sorry, on how you do your deliverables. There's also one other change you can do. So we've rendered these two versions. Director suddenly says, hang on, we did those test grades on these same images 3 weeks ago. Client rung and really liked those grades. Can we apply those grades to this session? And they've also asked if it can render with handles. That means can we render extra because they're thinking of changing the cut. Now this happens a lot. As I said earlier, nothing ever seems to be locked off. So how do we do that? Let's find this other session. So we're in our workflow. I'll save that. I'll come out of here, and it was a few weeks back. It was something called, now this is my folder of the classes we've been doing here. It's in here, it was called Restaurant. And you can see as I open it up, it's a slightly different cut, it's shorter. There's a red, green and blue grade in there. There's also a track here on the last shot where we've tracked her. Obviously, colors are over the top so we can see and it can highlight to you what's happening. So remember what it's called. It's in My User, and it's called Restaurant. Let's go back to the one we were working on. It's in 201 and it was Workflow. And what I'm going to do, I am going to come up here to my timeline, but I'm going to duplicate this. It's a good idea to do that if you're going to find other grades or you're going to change it. So right click on Drama, that's the one we've currently got, and duplicate the timeline. That's now called Resolve or Copy of Resolve, and I could call that, change that if I wanted to, give it a new name. In here we could rename, so that is called Old Grade. Right click on Old Grade and come down here to something called Color Trace. This opens up the database. I'm looking in the database of users. Find My User was. Here the folders for my 101 Advanced. Now Restaurant is that session we just looked at with the red, green and blue color. Select the timeline where I did that. Say Continue. Comes up with some boxes. Green means good, it's found a color match, and it can be looking at sizing, could be looking for any sort of 3D stuff. Any of these things can be matched. Versions if I wanted to. Red means there's either new shots there that it doesn't know about. Copy grades and exit. Come out to here, and now I've got my timeline with exactly the same grades, even the tracks from something that I did, say, 2 months ago. I've got exactly the same grades, and the director says, fantastic, we love those grades, excellent. So now I would render this as a second pass. But just before I render, they say, oh, hang on, can we have handles? At the moment, we have just conformed the exact cut, haven't we? So say the exact 40 seconds. To see handles, I can do this, View, Show Current Clip with Handles under the View menu. That will lengthen everything out. Now everything will be fine. It will just extend everything by whatever you set your handle duration to be back here at the beginning of your session. So currently handle set to 24. Okay, that will show me 24 frames here, and that is that difference. You see that overlay there? View, turn that off, we don't see it. This is fine. This would just extend each shot by 24 frames on the end. Where would there be a problem with this though? Is that fine? Could we just render it and not worry? This is what would happen if we did that. View, show current clip with handles, go to the first shot. Remember, this is the one with the track on it. Look what happens to the GUI here. Look what happens to this window. Just turn that on like, look here we go. This is with handles. It's great, it's not great. That is because how can Resolve know what to do in that extra handle? Because this extra handle bit I've never seen before. So it can't automatically do the tracking. What you have to do is this. I would do this, go into here. This is your sort of your timeline. Show all tracked clips. Tracked, here we are. So it's under this guy here, tracked clips, and I've only tracked one, shows it to me. I then need to open up the tracking GUI. I can see there where the tracking has run out, and I can then just track that forward. Fixed it, everything's fixed, everything else is good. Go back here to all clips, back into deliver page, and then when I render, I will turn on individual source clips, obviously, and track everything with handles, where I can stick a handle duration in here. Frame handles, 24. It will then render with those handles, and I've checked them all out. So that's a couple of really cool things to remember. And you can also color trace within your project. So if you started, and remember you hadn't clicked that box so all your grades are linking, you're just working with local grades, you graded the 60 and it was fantastic, but you hadn't ticked that box, so you cannot use those grades anywhere else. You can color trace. That way you can color trace from here to here within the same session. So that could be the 60, and then you color trace down to your 30. All right, thanks for watching. We'll be back with the last lesson talking about panels.